where conversations are real, voices are heard, and the real stars here. The real stars here. No filter, no fear. Truth in the mic, let the whole world hear. Stories unfold, voices sincere. Welcome to the place where the real starts here. From life and love to the latest news, community voices, different views, breaking it down so we all stay clear. Honest conversations live right here. Speak your truth, let it be known. This is the space where your voice has a home. No judgment here, just real and clear. Real talk with Tamara, the real starts here. Real talk with Tamara. Real people, real stories.
Hello, good evening, you guys. Happy Sunday, actually. Welcome to Real Talk with Tamara. As you guys come into the room, please do hit the like button. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. I hope that you guys are doing okay. I know that I am. I always express the importance of hitting the like button because the like button helps to keep the video on the algorithm. So make sure you guys please just like, share, subscribe, comment, and all of those great things. Okay. I wanted to talk about, I've been thinking about this stuff as it relates to Hernandez, Goan, and all of the interviews that he's been doing, right? And just analyzing these interviews and listening to what he says. I think in the beginning he tried to suppress his disdain for Dolph. And although he would throw a little salt on his name, I think now he does not try and suppress it at all. I definitely believe that he had just as much of a issue with young Dolph as Juke and Gotti. He probably had more of an issue with them than Juke. I don't believe that Juke's um, hate for Dolph ran as deep as Gotti's, you know, um, because at one time they had been pretty cool. I do believe that Juke's loyalty for his brother ran deep. And so, of course, when he was not able to benefit from Dolph anymore, of course, he would take the side of his brother. And then, Gotti might have started doing a little bit more for him as a means and a way to get him to turn on Dolph, because, the rumor is that, he ran off and didn't pay Dolph, you know, and kind of bragged about it, right? Um, and so I kind of believe that whatever issues that Govan had um, with Dolph, he won't say right now. Although it may come out one day. Right now he has to play it pretty cool. But I do believe that it will come out. Um, but I think Govan's issue was more so with um, Paper Route Wu for some reason and Young Dolph. Now, you hear them say that they had issues with Dolph because he signed Big Unc. You don't even hear them talk about Big Unc. They don't. They wanted to try and say that they had issues. You would think they would have had issues with Big Unc. They didn't have any issues with Big Unc. You never even hear them say anything about Big Unc like that. And you would think that if they loved J Money or D Money or so much, and they felt like Unc was involved in this situation, that his name will come up more. But now they don't even talk about Unc like that. Um, I think their issue is more so with Young Dolph, and I think it had a lot to do with the money, that he was making. Young Dolph is a Leo like myself, so who has a bigger heart than a Leo? But I guess sometimes people can take that we're kind of arrogant and short talking and or whatever. I guess when you don't act the way people want you to act, they'll say that you're acting funny or whatever. But I mean, it seems to be all kind of coming out, how he really felt about him. And I was thinking about Paper Route Wu. I don't know what has gone on between him and Wu, but I do believe that just like when he said he put the gun in his hand and told him to pop at Wu. I don't think it was because no money was on top of his head like that. If you listen to Wu, Wu was like they weren't trying to kill nobody else. They was at me. Okay, so I think there is something that has gone on between Govan and Wu. Okay, hold on 1 second.
What you think Govan need to do from here on out? He need to make himself a wheel and go pick out his casket and shit. Put shit like that. That's all he can do.
Okay, I think that Govan had that issue with Wu way before that came out. When people talk about Wu saying that, Wu says that what Cornelius said was true. Okay, he says that it happened. Okay, let's listen to what Govan said. Okay,
My
about
grandparents raised me my
about
whole
Wu.
life. They're like my best friends. This is my Instacart story. When I first moved,
Dress. I seen where Paper Route Wu, he said something on a podcast to the fact that you need to be picking out your casket.
Yeah, man, Wu a baby, man. What I'm saying, he just was in his body, about something. And we went back and forth in the inbox, and I told Wu.
He said he was in his body about something. Okay, there has been neither one of them would speak about it. I think there was something going on before Young Dolph was killed. That's why they was trying to he wanted Cornelius to get Wu. Okay, he wanted to get up on the Wu's mother, which is, oh my God, that's sadistic. To try and get Wu, according to Cornelius. Okay, that's according to Cornelius. But let's keep going.
And Wu know I ain't lying. I told him, I said, make that be your first and last time ever playing with me like that, because like the worst thing you could do is scare me. Like, if you scare me, if you say something, if I halfway believe you, I like to walk around comfortably. I don't like to be looking over my shoulders and all.
Okay. Go, man. I have to analyze this stuff. I am an investigator. Okay. Now, uh, I would hate to believe this because I do kind of believe Govan is trying to change his life around. But even when you're trying to change your life around, that's why you have to be very meticulous about the things that you do. You still have to. There still has to be some reckoning as it relates to the past. And I do believe him when he says that. He could mean something else, but me, from the eyes of an investigator, I get to thinking about all of the people that was knocked down. When he said, I like to walk around comfortably. I don't want to ever believe that, I got to be looking over my shoulders. And so I don't know. The first thing that came to my mind is, well, I'm going to knock down and take down anybody that threatens my freedom, because we know that he definitely didn't want to go and be convicted and do life. So I don't know, I just get to thinking about um some of these young men that have was knocked down, that made him uncomfortable. I was thinking about his friend. I was thinking about his friend, and I pay very close attention to people's words. I was thinking about his friend, the truth. Okay. And they could have very well have made up. I hope so. If they've been friends since they was teenagers, I would hope that there is some respect there, whereas they can make amends, right? I think that, and I hate to bring the truth in them in this, but it was all over the internet, so I think it's just fair game. I think the truth was very hurt because when Govan was, and I ain't trying to take up for the truth. I'm just thinking about all this stuff. Y'all have to think about the things that go through my mind, okay? And I was looking at the truth on a video, okay, that was circulating on the internet. And he seemed very disturbed that he was like, he must have felt that way about me. He must have already felt that way about me. You know, um, I think he was very disturbed of some things that Govan had said to him. And one of the things that Govan said was, if you say anything to make me feel uncomfortable, I'm gonna come and see you. And the first thing that came to my mind as an investigator was, okay, well, the truth know where all the skeletons are. So if he starts to punk fake or whatever you call it, as if he's gonna put some things out there, that would make him feel uncomfortable. And so I think he would have been another statistic too. I think that's the thing that really bothered the truth. Now I could be, y'all know, I be thinking, I folks be saying, "Girl, you was out there," okay. But I'm just always thinking of different scenarios because that's just how I am. And normally I'm always on the money as it relates to things, okay. And when you hear him say that, I don't like to look over my shoulder. I know most people might think, because most men are stupid, okay? And so they just kind of think, generalize, okay, well, he's talking about if Wu is going to be talking about he gonna knock him down. He don't want to look over his shoulder. No, I take it a little bit further because I be listening to what the man say, okay? And I've been paying close attention to a lot of what he says, and he's very calm, which that's why I know he's very dangerous. Me and somebody in law enforcement was talking about that the other day. It's that he's I said he's real calm. Yeah, he's very he's very dangerous. I can believe that in his prior life he was a or it could be in his current life, but we want to believe God and turn Saul into Paul, okay, at least trying, anyways. That he was a hitman, definitely, okay. Um, and so I just I get to, my mind just went far out there when he says that. I kind of dig deep into what people say, okay, and he said that before. You think about the things that have happened, as it relates to Teasy. Now, I don't know if Govan had anything to do with what happened to Teasy, but I do believe that the police knows, okay, because that very person that I was talking to, um, before they was promoted, they had been on Teasy's case. So I kind of believe that they know what happened to Teasy, although they didn't tell me, okay. But it's one thing to know something; it's another thing to prove it. Okay. And I'm through with that. And I don't know if I'm not saying, because people like to take my words and twist it. Don't make me get on here and cuss y'all out, because I never said that anybody told me that Govan had anything to do with what happened to Teasy. I just get to thinking about the things that Govan says. And y'all know I love psychology, okay? I love to study the mind. I've taken a lot of classes, and I just he says the same things in different ways. And of course, he told the truth. If you say anything to make me feel uncomfortable, I'm gonna come and see you. He just said, I like to walk around comfortably, which means he don't ever want to feel like anything as it relates to his livelihood is ever threatened, because if so, then he's gonna have to knock it down or handle it, okay. Anyways, let's keep going. Let me let him finish.
All of this. So if I feel like you a spanker and you say that, I'm gonna take you for your word and I'm gonna address it accordingly. So how I feel about it, I really don't feel no kind of way, because I know he ain't even like that. You know, he's just talking like he barely could do what he want to do on his own block. And I know that to be like fact. Like he had issues over there. Like so for him to say that about me, it was just for some views and some clicks. And like I said, man, I know his dad.
Now, I don't know about that. Now, I do know Magnolia and Castelia, and I guess Govan would know more than me. I'm not saying that I'm in the street, but I be having cases over there a lot. And I've driven by there and you know, past that mural. You know, I've taken pictures of the mural, and I've driven past there, and Wu was standing out there, and all them other little dudes was standing around him. Okay, because one day I had to get out and go in the store, and when I was coming down the street, I knew it was Newski before I even got up on him to get out. And I asked him, was he Newski? He was like, yeah, yeah, he was very, you know, they all very pleasant. He gave me a fist thing, whatever you call it, on the knuckles or whatever that's called. And but I mean, they all standing out there. I don't think he has no issues. You could tell those dudes out there kind of. You could say I'm sure that they're dangerous. Okay. And I mean he be out there with them, so I don't know. And he as my auntie you say, he's gent tall. He real tall, okay, over those dudes out there. I don't think, and he seemed, you know, very comfortable the times that I've seen him standing out there with those guys. But I digress.
He got respect for his dad. Like his dad got respect for me. We done been in that same car together, good dude. For that reason alone, I wouldn't necessarily want to take it there with him, you know. But you know, like you said, OG, if Wu start a fire, I'm gonna put it out.
Big facts. So this is another question I forgot to ask you, but was it true that you could have testified to get straight drop and get probation, but you decided not to?
Yeah. I was offered that opportunity. Could have got received like 5-6 years probation or whatever. And
I don't know if that's true. Now I do know that he was offered. I don't think that he was offered total immunity. Let's just get that confused. I mean, let's just get that straight. I don't think that Quet was offered total immunity to tell on Juk and Gotti. Um, I think that's what he would have wanted. I think he was offered a very big. He was offered some time cut. I think he was offered like I think that's what it was. Okay. But I don't know. You know, maybe, you know, he knows more about his situation than me. I'm just a third wheel. Okay. I ain't no wheel, but um I don't think that he was offered total immunity to tell on Juk and Gotti. I do believe that he was offered some consideration, and you know, maybe, you know, maybe he wanted total immunity. Um, I'm guessing. I'm not sure. I'm just, you know, just guessing. But I do believe that straight drop was offered the same thing. Um, if he had told on Juk and Gotti, he would have gotten some consideration. They would have worked with him. Okay. The evidence in Straight Drop's case was substantial. Okay. Um, yeah, I do believe that they offered. As a matter of fact, I do believe it was they offered Straight Drop. They was offering him a deal to tell on Juk Gotti and Govan. Okay, and I do believe that he told some stuff on Govan and then he recanted, but for some reason he wanted to hold out on Juke and Gotti. He wanted Cornelius to tell on Juke and Gotti. But I digress.
And I think I kind of spoke on it in the No Jumper interview, and I seen some comments, and people was like, well, if he's innocent, how is he going to testify and against straight drop or whatever? And to respond to that, I'm still innocent. I always been innocent, but just because I'm innocent don't mean that I don't certain things don't fall in your lap, that you don't see or hear certain things, and so with that being said, it's a lot of things that I may have been aware of or whatever the case, and but at the end of the day, I declined to testify against him, and it wasn't even more so because it was dropped, because at this point I had got the discovery and seen some things that he said in the discovery that I ain't respect. Like when he asked Cornelius to lie to the detectives and say that was me in the video with him shooting Dolph, and when he get out and go platinum, he was gonna take care of Cornelius and his family for the rest of their life or some goofy shit. And so when I seen that, it was actual evidence and discovery. When he sent it to Cornelius actually turned it in to the government. And so when I seen that, it just kind of blew me. So me not testifying against him was more so for me. I ain't want to be.
Well, I think he didn't testify against him because then that would have thrown gasoline on the fire. Straight Drop also knows where all of the skeletons are. Then it would have hurt him more. Straight Drop was already willing to talk. Already he talked shit. Um, the boys came and got him twice about that sale. So it wouldn't have done Govan any good to start throwing a whole lot of gasoline back at him, because then other things was gonna come up of other dirt that they've done, and all it was gonna do is start a fire. It was gonna make that blaze higher than what it already was. So that's he did not say anything as far as we know. If he didn't say anything, it wasn't because he was standing on principles. He just didn't want to open up another can of worms. I think that's what it was. Okay. But on another note, hey, I hate that all of this happened. I hope that Govan is, changed his life. I look at Govan, and I've always been told, my dad used to always say that you don't feel sorry for no man. And I don't know if that's um if that has been a bad thing in my life, because I kind of discard men when they whine. Okay. And I haven't heard Govan whining. I'm just saying in my life, my personal life. Okay. Because that's what I was taught. You don't feel sorry for no man. You let him figure that out. Okay. So when they come to me whining, I discard them. Okay. Because if you're going to whine more than me, I whines because I'm spoiled. Then I don't want you around me. And you got a dick. Excuse my French. Okay. But I get to thinking about Govan. Okay. And I hate all this happening. I study Govan. I study people like Govan. And I think one of the reasons that I study Govan is because I've always had such a very strong interest. I study this all the time. I got all the books. I've taken classes on it, investigative classes. I've watched the movies. I guess in the beginning, I was like, I want to see if he has the characteristics of a serial killer. Okay. I definitely think that he's done a lot of dirt. I wouldn't say that, but he might be pushing the line. He might be pushing the line, okay? And so, but I think even more so, Govan is like he's a victim of his environment. Okay, because Govan he could have went on. I don't know what his life was like, but he could have went on to be whatever he wanted. I don't know if his manager or AI write his stuff, but he's always written. I pay attention to how people write because I be speaking into my phone. It looks like I'm illiterate. His punctuations are really good, so nobody could ever tell me he's not intelligent. So most people are victims of their circumstances and their environment. And I listened to him one time say, when he started getting into stuff and he started being known, I guess, for killing people, being a hitman, he became like a local celebrity. And I thought that was just so messed up, for and I think he started to like that. Okay. And sometimes people crave the wrong types of attention. And you know, because that you have doing some of the things that these men have done in the street, you really have to have a dark soul. Okay. And I think for so many years, he probably with taking pills and all of that. He was soulless. Okay. And so he was definitely a Saul. Okay. And so I do know that God can change some things, but you still have to there still has to be some reckoning with your past. Okay. I think about King Von, and somebody was saying as soon as King Von started uh started caring, he started to care. He was seeing another side of life. um that's when the death angel caught up with him. Okay. I definitely don't want that. I do know that, Govan was supposed to be convicted. God didn't allow it to happen for whatever reasons. Could have been because of his son. It could have been because, he's going into the jails now. It has to be for a purpose. That's how I look at it. That's why I'm not so hard on him, because I trust the Lord. Okay. But I still know that there has to be some reckoning. And I think he fights with good and evil, um, because there's still that evilness on him that wants to stain the legacy of young Dolph, which is something that he can't do. Okay. It wants to stain that legacy, and God is not going to allow it to happen. Okay. And I think wanting to do that is what keeps those demonic forces around him. And if he don't hurry up and get his life right, those demonic forces are going to start collecting. Okay. So, I don't know. People talk about federal situations. Um, you know, state-wise, you cannot be. There are double jeopardy laws. I think a lot of people fight with the federal situations because what the feds say is what they'll try to do is they'll charge you. I work with them. I work in the federal prosecutor's office, so I know. Um, it's a lot of stuff that I've learned since I've been there. You go, dog, wasn't he charged with this? You know, oh, we have a different state. We have a different set of statures. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it is still double jeopardy, but they have different statures. So, I mean, they can pick up things and charge you with the same stuff. Okay. The truth be told, I don't really believe that the feds want Govan for his part in what happened to young Dolph. Although, if I had to guess, although they do want some people, they might want Govan for something else. If they're gonna charge him with something, it'll probably be for some other things that might come back to haunt him. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't really think that they're going to waste the resources, not necessarily on him for the young dog situation. Although I do believe that there are people on the agenda federally, because these criminal organizations that's disguised as record labels and stuff. I mean, yeah, and the reason I say that is because people say that they have record labels, but you have murders and hits and hitmen and stuff being paid for. As far as I'm concerned, it's a criminal organization disguised as a record label. As far as I'm concerned, I'm sure that the government probably looks at it like that too. So, but I said all that to say this: did Hernandez Govan have more problems with Young Dolph and Paper Route Wu? I believe so. I think that's you don't hear him talk about Unc, and you would think that they would have more problems with him. I think the issue was Dolph, and I do believe that he's starting to talk about, he thought basically Dolph thought he was untouchable, and the money changes people and make them think they're untouchable. I think that it was jealousy. I do. I think some other stuff may have happened with him and Wu, probably something to do with a girl. Okay, who knows? I hope Govell ain't mess with no damn girls that Wu would mess with, because his ass is too damn old. Okay, to be messing with anybody. And because these old ass men, I don't want to have to cuss them out, because I didn't have to cuss my baby daddy out with his old, no good ass, funky ass sitting around here with a girlfriend, and her damn 20s are old, wormy. These girls ready to get worms for some damn money, but he ain't got none. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that right now. Anyways, because he's still paying me for child support. And I ain't okay. Anyways, that's another thing. That's another story. Anyways, you guys, that's what I wanted to talk about. We may go live and talk about that. I have some things to do. I got to finish up my makeup work. I got something to turn in tonight. Then I promised my friend I would get on another conference call with her. And then tomorrow, you guys, we got another. Next week, it's probably going to be full of interviews with local politicians. So I do know I got one scheduled for tomorrow, and I'm talking with Commissioner Thornton about coming on, and then we're trying to solidify a time with Mayor Young and with Steve Mora. Okay, but anyways, you guys, I want you all to please like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to support the channel, you could definitely support the channel via Cash App.